LifeLock, how can I help?
The IRS said I filed my return, but I haven't.
1 in 4 tax-paying Americans has paid the price of identity fraud.
What do I do?
My refund, though.
I'm freaking out.
Don't worry, I can fix this.
LifeLock fixes identity theft guaranteed and gets your money back with up to $3 million in coverage.
I'm so relieved.
No problem. I'll be with you every step of the way.
1 in 4 was a fraud-paying American. Not anymore. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Feisty, fearless, and fair. She's an Emmy-winning journalist from the White House to war zones, telling all sides of the story. This is the Rita Cosby Show.
Lovely Rita, meet a maid. Nothing can come between us. When it gets dark, I tow your heart away.
Breaking news.
And at this hour, they are there in the House of Representatives chamber in Washington, D.C., and the House is set to vote on their Department of Homeland Security funding bill. That, after the Senate passed it by, quote, unanimous consent in the wee hours of the morning. President Trump fed up, saying this is incredible that we're at this moment. Of course, so many American travelers fed up with the long lines at the airport and concerned about our safety and security. There are so many issues at stake. Thank goodness Trump to the rescue. And President Trump came through with that emergency order to give paychecks to TSA workers. They didn't get their third paycheck today. A lot of Americans can't handle not working and missing 3 paychecks. These guys are working and missing 3 paychecks. Many of them sleeping in their cars, selling blood to take care of their families. This is preposterous. The Democrats should be ashamed of themselves. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Meantime, there were also ground stops tonight at Dulles Airport, BWI there in Maryland, also Reagan Airport just outside of Washington, D.C. Those ground stops have now been lifted, but what started it was a very strong smell at a Virginia air traffic control facility. So what's going on with our airports and how concerned should we be about security? The good news is everything is now back up and running, and it seems like things are back to normal as far as we know in terms of the ground stop. But the lines are still there and they keep on coming. And I'm curious to hear who you think is going to win and lose over this big shutdown. No doubt the losers will be Congress. And right now, sadly, the American public, they're the ones being held hostage by this unbelievable game of politics. I mean, I have never seen these enormous lines at the airport, and there should be signs up there everywhere saying, Democrats, shame on you. Congress, get to work. And Republicans have been saying, we need to do funding like we've done every time. I mean, this is not an epiphany. This is not like anything new. This is just following through with what Congress is supposed to do all the time. And I think it's a real disgrace that Democrats are out there blasting ICE at every turn. It seems like any chance they get, they are slamming ICE and trying to do anything to undermine our brave men and women trying to help but keep us safe. And especially at a time with all this heightened security, we have so many massive security problems right now with everything that's happening with Iran, just the normal course also of the threats to the homeland. And you're not going to fund ICE at a time like this? You are off your rocker. President Trump called them earlier this week the party of crazy. And I say he's spot on. Maybe crazy is too nice because these people truly have lost their values. Are they putting America not just behind illegal aliens? They seem to be putting them way at the back of the line. And now they're playing games with travel. Now they're playing games with Homeland Security. The only thing, and I said this earlier, guys, you probably heard it on Katz and Cosby. I said the Republicans need to do a better job of PR. They need to get it out there and say, shame on you. How dare you keep all of us in line? How dare you do this to the American public? How could you not support our men and women in ICE? And this vilification of ICE has got to stop. You got the DA in Philly, the district attorney, Larry Krasner there, saying that ICE agents should be arrested if they show up at the airport. And then you got Hakeem Jeffries saying that ICE could maybe kill people at the airport. Look what they did in Minneapolis, like it's like a shooting corral. This is so irresponsible. And it already is a very difficult job being an ICE agent in America. I pray for those men and women every single day and their families. And now you want to start vilifying them even more because it's a midterm election. We all know what this is about. This is all about gutter politics, pure and simple. And the Democratic Party doesn't mind getting into the gutter and putting many of our brave men and women in danger. It makes me so angry, and it makes me so sad. And I had to share this one with you guys because Pramila Jayapal, and I'm going to play this for you in a few moments. This is, of course, the squad member, Pramila Jayapal. She called on illegal immigrants, get this, to receive reparations to make up for the trauma of being targeted by ICE. So they're victims because, quote, trauma by ICE. What about those who come into our country illegally by the tens of millions? And what about those who have committed crimes in our country? Don't you think maybe they should all be giving reparations to this country? Because a lot of them are getting freebies. They're getting health care. They're getting education. They're getting a lot of things. Many of them are getting out of jail free cards. So don't you think they should be paying every American? I actually think it's a great idea. I'm not kidding. I think everybody who comes into this country, if you want to be in this country, you got to follow the law. You even start jaywalking, I'm sorry, you're out. Let alone murder or robbery or all these other things that they're doing. But if you do anything and you come into this country, that's why I liked actually Trump's gold card. Remember when Trump had the gold card? He still does. I think you have to pay $5 million for a company to have somebody here. They get vetted, they get checked thoroughly, and then they're required to hire all these people in this country and create all these new jobs. X amount have to be Americans in their company. So I actually think it's a really brilliant idea. It gives to this United States, they're vetted. It's bringing in the melting pot, but bringing in people who love this country and appreciate this country and bringing in people who can hire. So maybe that's the solution. Maybe the reparations that Pramila Jayapal is talking about needs to 100% be reversed. And maybe what happens is anybody who crosses the border has to pay X amount. And then maybe everybody else, once they're vetted, then the people who benefit are American taxpayers. Maybe they get a refund. Maybe after all, imagine if everybody of the 20 million people that crossed under Joe Biden, if each of them gave X amount, and then maybe every American, after a few groups of them, not all the way up to 20 million, shouldn't be that. But if once in a while people would come through and they're vetted, think about how much that could be, even if it's hundreds of thousands of them that are vetted. And they have to pay X amount into the system, and then it goes into our tax refund. We see it at the end of the year. Then you go, okay, these people are vetted, we're safe, they're registered, we know who they are. If they commit a crime, they're gone. And in the meantime, I got a nice check back. That's not a bad idea. I like where I'm going. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. But Pramila Jayapal, the progressive Washington State Democrat, blasted ICE, saying that they are kidnappers in a sense, that they have tortured the community. They need to be prosecuted. I mean, are you kidding me? Here's an exact quote. At the end of the day, the people that have been inflicting this harm need to be prosecuted. And we are going to have some form of reparation. That's a real set of cojones. Somebody saying that the illegal immigrants who came to this country illegally should receive money from American taxpayers. You have got to be kidding me. Well, here is President Trump, and he is very frustrated with the fact that Democrats are not still funding ICE. And he says this is despicable. He brought up the example of that horrible case of what happened to that beautiful girl, the 18-year-old girl, Sheridan Gorman, in Chicago. Remember, killed by an illegal immigrant in Venezuela with a track record of crime. And here's President Trump a little bit ago.
Just days ago, an 18-year-old girl in Chicago named Sheridan Gorman was gunned down by a savage criminal alien led in by Sleepy Joe Biden and released in a Democrat sanctuary city. He was an animal. The same month, an 83-year-old veteran, highly regarded person, was shoved onto the subway tracks and murdered by an illegal alien with a long criminal history in New York City. These are vicious criminal thugs, disgusting human beings that Democrats have defunded our airports to protect. They want our airports to be defunded so that these people can come into our country. Not going to happen. We're not going to have it. That's why this week I deployed ICE to our airports to help reduce the delays. People there are doing a great job, but they didn't want to pay them. The Democrats didn't want to pay them. And a short time ago, I also ordered emergency funding to resume paying the TSA agents immediately. They're getting paid. Democrats must stop their dangerous and destructive shutdown and reopen the Department of Homeland Security without delay. And it's time that they start thinking properly. That's why they lost in such a landslide and put America first.
And he brought up the case in New York where that monster, the illegal criminal migrant with many arrests in his background, pushed the 80-year-old veteran onto the subway tracks. Remember, and he died. And now, thank goodness, that guy, the monster, the illegal immigrant, is being charged with murder. I hope he never sees the light of day. But it is New York City, and you got Alvin Bragg as the DA. Pray for New York. But what does Zoran Mondani do? He pulls a Brandon Johnson out of Chicago, and I call it a Brandon Johnson, making it a verb. That Brandon Johnson, of course, is the guy. He's the mayor who came out, and he was despicable right after the murder of Sheridan Gorman that President Trump was talking about. He comes out and says, we're not going to change our policy. We'll be receptive to all communities. We'll be attentive. And I feel bad about her. But anyway, I mean, what? Are you tone deaf? And then Zoran Mondani, I talked about what happened in New York with the illegal migrant with a criminal history who pushed the 80-year-old veteran onto the subway tracks. What happens there? Well, Zoran Mondani comes out today, and who is he blasting? He blasts ICE. You can't make it up. And he doubles and triples down everything that he said during the campaign. It's not changing his mind whatsoever. I guess it's a good thing that an illegal criminal migrant with a multiple history of violent crime is pushing people into the subway. I wish he had just as much anger about that as he seems to have anger about other things. But here is Zoran Mondani.
I think first and foremost, we're making clear that no one is above the law in this city, that everyone has to follow the rule of law. And I have made clear to the president, both in our private conversations and our public conversations, about the fact that I believe that ICE is a rogue agency. It's a reckless one. It's one that delivers nothing towards the furthering of the cause of public safety. And I've also been public about my belief that ICE is an entity that should be abolished. And that is critically important in our city, where we've seen too many New Yorkers living in fear of even going to what would otherwise be routine immigration check-ins.
What is going on with the mayor of New York? I would say people are living in fear if they're afraid about being pushed onto the subway tracks. And for him to say that ICE doesn't make people safer, what, I guess it's okay to keep those people out into the public? Like, that's the solution, Mr. Mayor? This is really the definition of insanity, and it's throughout many people in the Democratic Party to call ICE rogue, reckless. They don't do anything for safety. So let's just keep all the criminal migrants out there and have a good day, and everybody fends for themselves. That is such a preposterous notion. Let's get law enforcement off the streets and live in Mary Poppins fairy tale land. Wake up. Wake up. We're going to take your calls when we come back. 1-800-848-9222. And you're listening to The Rita Cosby Show on another very busy Friday night.
The Rita Cosby Show. It's the Rita Cosby Show.
Well, the House of Representatives is in, and soon a vote will happen on the House version. We'll see where it goes. But the Senate already took off for a 2-week break. They're getting paid for the next 2 weeks. They may get sent back to come back. What a shame. We're disrupting their 2-week paid vacation while so many Americans, especially great people that are working for the U.S. government, aren't getting paid. I say disrupt their vacation. I mean, the Senate bill, even President Trump said this never should have really even gotten to the House. It should have been dead on arrival. But that's for another day. The day right now is what's going to happen tonight. And luckily, President Trump signed that emergency order so the TSA workers will be able to get paid. And the Department of Homeland Security / White House is saying that could come as early as Monday or soon after. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Al in Yonkers on line 1. Go ahead, Al.
Yeah, hi, Rita. Thanks for taking my call. Unfortunately, I wish this wasn't the case because, I'm a Republican, against crime like all of us, law and order, protect the borders. But right now, I think if the midterms were held, I think the Republicans are in big trouble. The reason why is in Florida, where the president's compound is, the state Congress, the lines there for the state representative, a Democrat just won.
Yep, and they flipped the seat. It was a Republican before. That was a big flip. Yeah,
and that's an indication. That's not good. Also, Miami, you had a Higgins, a woman win. She's a Democrat. And also, about 2 months ago in Tennessee, which is, you can't get any more Republican than the congressional district in Tennessee. That there was a special election.
Yep.
A Democrat came way too close. So these are really bad indicators for the Republicans. So hopefully they start looking and talking about domestic issues like health care, because if they keep ignoring health care, they're going to have a serious problem next year. They're not going to only lose, and I hate to say this, I'm just telling as a person who's studied it a little bit.
Yep.
If they don't change their tune with the health care, they're not only going to lose the House, they're going to lose the Senate.
Well, and also, Al, the economy is important. I mean, the one issue, and do me a favor, Al, stick with us because I want to carry you over because I think there's a lot of issues here to talk about and how far you think it needs to go in Iran. And then I also want to hear your thoughts on the economy, too, because obviously it's been a difficult week, but that's expected with Iran. It's going to bounce back. But hold on, we're going to continue with you and others after the break here on the show.
Rita Cosby is on. The Rita Cosby Show presents Back the Blue.
And this Back the Blue segment coming from Cortland, Ohio, where 2 officers who risked their lives to rescue a man from a burning vehicle were recognized for their quick life-saving actions. The officers were called to a road where they found that a car had driven through a fence. It flipped on its side. It caught on fire. And acting quickly, the officers were able to pull the sunroof off of that burning flip vehicle and pull the driver out to safety. On body cam footage, a man can be heard saying his legs were broken, that he was paralyzed and simply could not move. One of the officers, when he was asked about the rescue, said, "For us, it was just a call. We take calls all the time. Someone needs help, so we go. This one turned out good. It could have been very, very bad." Well, bravo to our great men and women in blue who in Cortland, Ohio, and around the country every day, they save so many lives. By the way, also, this just came in. This is interesting that apparently Saturday Night Live was being pitched to have Zoran Mondani, according to the New York Post. But according to the story, they wanted somebody funny. They went with a comedian instead. And this is being told that apparently the head honcho, Lorne Michaels, said, no, that's not going to really quite work. They ended up actually using a comedian playing the Democratic Socialist in a sketch on November 1st, right about the New York City mayoral debate. So that's interesting. So apparently there were clips of it posted. And then Mondani and his team, I guess, had been making some efforts to get him pitched for either then or for a future one. And the story, according to SNL, a source telling the New York Post, Lorne is happy to meet with the mayor, but not necessarily at this point to have him. So that's interesting. A number of mayors have been on there, and a number, of course, major New York figures. Trump, I think Ed Koch. I mean, if I think of, so a number of great New York figures have been on there, and who knows where. What, is someone going to play a rogue ICE agent? I mean, this is crazy. We'll see where it goes. But if you watch SNL lately, I would think maybe Zoran Mondani might end up on there soon. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. Let's go back to Al in Yonkers, line one. Go ahead,
Rita.
Al.
Yeah, and in regards to the military campaign, I think the president has to see it through. There's too much of a buildup over there in the Middle East to turn back. You don't want to be looking wishy-washy, indecisive. The perception in the paper is that the president is possibly looking for a deal. I think you got to just finish it up now. You have the USS Ford over there, the carrier. You have troops. You can't back away now. Just do what you have to do. You went this far. I think you have to finish it up.
Yeah, I do too. And I think
Yes.
for a lot of reasons. I mean, obviously, you can't leave something undone just technically. If you say you're going to do something you don't want to. The other reason is these guys are rabid zealots, Al. I mean, you understand it. I know that. And so to me, these people are fanatics. You can't leave, rabid zealots still in control, which is why there still is quite a bit to hit. I mean, I'm not, you guys, I'm not a warmonger. And President Trump certainly isn't one either. Which is why I think he's working on parallel paths. I think he's looking at negotiations on one hand, Al, and saying, look, we'll give them a little more time before we pound their energy infrastructure, but we can't accept, the Strait of Hormuz being closed and the world being paralyzed. And also we can't accept who's there still left of the regime, even though not a lot of them. So I think there are a number of reasons, but I also think because these people are fanatics, almost anybody else with the pounding that this regime, I think, has taken from the U.S. and from Israel, anyone else would have said, I surrender, I surrender, I surrender.
That's right.
But these people are fanatics. I mean, they're the ones who were bringing out the Houthis and the Hezbollah and the Hamas, they're proxies all over the globe. So when you think about, when I think of Iran, I think of so many horrific things that they did to their own people. But I think about those, they were funding the Hamas terrorists that went in and slaughtered those people on October 7th. These people are monsters. And they are, I use sort of the equation, sort of, Al, like the ones, the Japanese kamikazes, in Pearl Harbor that were willing to go down, that's how these are. So that's why I don't, like any other regime would have said, I'm done. I think these people will take a little bit more to pound to submission. What do you think? And where do you think it's headed?
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Even in 1983, look at all the soldiers we lost, the Americans in Beirut. Iran was behind that. They've been nothing but trouble since 1979 when the Shah abdicated the throne. Where we're headed, I think the president, is really at a standstill. I don't think he's made up his mind. But again, like with yourself, I think you got to go in there like Netanyahu's, all four. I think you got to finish it up because, like you said, they're fanatical and they will never stop. So you got to try to get rid of them.
So how do you do that when there's so many of them? That's the big question too, Al, because, there are still many of them. There's believed to be still a lot of these, Revolutionary Guard Corps, and there's still a lot of true believers just by numbers. We got out a lot. I mean, there's no doubt that taking that hit with the Ayatollah and those others, that will go down, I think, in history as one of the greatest military hits ever. A combination of U.S. intel and Israeli strike on that one. I mean, that was just absolutely remarkable. But there's still a lot more left. So how do you really rid the country of zealots?
Well, I just wanted to say, I think with the Ayatollah, that's why I think you can't turn back, because there will never be any kind of forgiveness for that. They'll always, look to target who was involved with that. So that's why I think no matter what, if you keep them in place, it's pointless, because they're never going to forget what you did to their inner circle there. So I think that's why you have to finish the job, because they will never, ever forgive you for that.
Yep, I agree. To me, I feel like there is no turning back just because of the brutality and slaughter of that regime. But it is going to take a little bit longer. And at some point, we have to tee it up. And I don't think it's there yet, but we have to tee it up so the Iranians can take back their country, and that all those people who were protesting that are alive, and families of those who lost loved ones, that they can come out armed. That's why I hope right now the CIA and some others are bringing in arms. So when it's go time, they're ready to go.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say quickly, I think you have to attack that island. You asked me what I think they have to do. I think to go to that island where they have all their nuclear buildup, their oil and all, I think you got to hit them there. That's what I think they have in their sights, meaning the American, the defense secretary and all. They're looking to go in there, the Secretary of War. So I would do that.
Yeah, I agree. Karg Island, where 92% of Iran's crude oil exports come from. I mean, that's a huge amount. If you take that island, you've really taken that country. And they know it. I mean, it's surprising that they've, obviously there will be pain to the people there, the average people also in Iran. But if it could turn the country and bring them freedom, I'm sure it's worth it. Well worth it. Well worth it. And I agree. That's what I think. 82nd's coming in. They're either doing something tied to Karg Island or something tied to the Strait.
Yeah.
Or a combination. I mean, they're the best. And President Trump is bringing in, he's negotiating on one hand, and then on the other hand, strength. So it's peace through strength. Yes. You have a choice. You want to do it the nice way, or you want to do it the not so nice way, right, Al?
That's right. Yep. Peace through strength.
Yeah, let's see where this goes. Al, thank you very much. Really great to talk with you, and I hope you have a good weekend. Let's go to Sal in New Jersey on Live 5. Go ahead, Sal. What are you thinking?
Hello, Rita. Thank you for taking my call. I want to bring up two issues. The first issue is I firmly support the Gold Card initiative of President Trump, because we need to have good people come into this country.
Yep.
My parents and my people came from Italy. They were carpenters, plumbers, architects, construction workers. They helped build this country, and we need good people to help renew this country, redevelop our economy. The second issue I want to bring up is the Democrats are letting all these illegals into this country so they can commit crimes against our people, because they want to use them as a fifth column to kill off our people and to subvert our country. What do you think about that?
Well, I don't think all of them want to come in and kill our country, but I do think there are a lot of them that come in that don't love this country and don't appreciate the values and see us as sort of like an endless sieve and a bunch of suckers. I hate to say that. And there are a number of American leaders that are suckers. And I agree, they're using it for political gain. I don't know if all of it, some of it I do believe is they want a change or an uprising in this country. I think some of it is that. I also think that some of it's as simple as they want people to vote for them. And I think they're willing to do anything to win, whatever it is. And they're willing to vilify ICE, and they're willing to vilify, the men and women in blue, and say defund the police and do all these, horrible phrases, anything that can they believe to get out voters and say you're a racist if you criticize an immigrant. Because I guess they'd rather have a illegal criminal migrant, even somebody with a violent criminal history, to stay in the country if they'll vote. I mean, it's really shocking, Sal. I never thought I would say that, but I feel like we're at this point where they would be willing to do anything. So, how do you turn it around, Sal? How do you turn that?
I don't know, Rita. We have to use. I hate to say this. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know what you think about this, but we have to use draconian measures. We have to really put our foot down and say, stop, do whatever we can by any means necessary. I don't know. I guess so frustrated because when is this going to stop? What do we got? We have to do something. We have to do something harsh to stop it because the Democrats won't listen. They won't cooperate with us. They're letting in all these illegals that are killing our people. They're subverting our country. I don't know.
Well, I will tell you that obviously it's key that it matters who you vote for. If this is not even a really resounding message, Sal, that we got to make sure that we have people who love this country. And when you get out and vote, especially even in the midterms, sometimes people don't come out for the midterms clearly as much as they come out for presidential races. They often don't come out for, local races. You got to go out and vote when you have a chance to do it. When it's the time to vote, you got to get out and vote. And you got to vote for people who have the same values as you do, because the best way to shut something down is to not put these people in office. There are a lot of people that are now going, what's going on with this guy Mondani in New York? He's saying defund the police. It's like, yeah, he was saying it all before. ICE is terrible. ICE is a rogue agency. That's what he was saying before. Just people didn't want to listen.
And Rita, in order for evil to triumph, good men must do nothing. The Republicans have to go out there and say, hey, look, do something to the American people. Do something. Vote for us. We're on your side. Put us in power so we'll change the country. Because if you don't vote for us, the Democrats will get in there. They'll exacerbate the situation even worse.
Yeah, you're right. The Republicans need to make that message clear. Like President Trump says it. But he needs to repeat that, and he needs to remind everybody what's at stake. Like you said, if you don't like the direction of this country, which so many people did not like under Biden, which is why President Trump is where he is. They didn't buy it under Biden. They didn't buy it under Kamala Harris when she finally was plopped in there. And they were so disenchanted. They could see with their own two eyes that the wide open border that the Democrats were saying, what do you mean? I mean, you could see the pictures. You're like, I'm looking at it now. Clearly, they're coming in. And now finally, of course, they're admitting it. But to your point, you're right. They need to say what is at stake, because it's a lot more than sort of one seat or one issue. It is all about the numbers. And if the Democrats get in, I do worry, Sal, where this country's headed. And I also worry of gridlock, too. I mean, not only will what people need to realize, Sal, not only will it change the agenda, it will block the agenda as well of President Trump. So things that he might want to do, X with drilling or X with this, or they're going to continue to block him at every turn and pull him and his people in for questioning, try to, at least with many in his cabinet, for sure, they'll try to pull in. They'll try to impeach him. They'll do lawfare 3.0, because they already did 1.0 and 2.0. They'll try to do 3.0 against him. So there is so much at stake. And I say bravo to you, Sal, because you're right. We got to remind everybody that there is so much going on, that this is a big, big deal, and that the future of the country and the future of generations is at stake. And you're right. I don't think they're doing that enough. They need to really turbocharge that, because people need to wake up. Sal, really great to hear from you. You have a good weekend. 1-800-848-9222. And we will continue when we come back.
It's the Rita Cosby Show. This is the Rita Cosby Show.
unbelievable that people like Pramila Jayapal think that illegal migrants deserve reparations. This woman really, she's smoking something, whatever it is, it's really good stuff. I mean, she is claiming that the damage done to illegal migrants should be compensated for. And she calls the actions by ICE offensive. I call people across the country illegally, especially those that commit crimes once they get here, even if it's like shoplifting. But what about as bad as pushing somebody in front of a subway or killing a young woman who had her whole life ahead of her in Chicago? I call that reprehensible. I call that bad. But somehow Pramila Jayapal leaves that out. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Dom in Minnesota, line 5. Go ahead, Dom, your thoughts tonight.
Yeah, Rita, I paid $4 a gallon of gas under Obama, Bush, and now Biden, and got through it without too many bruises. But now I know that it's a small price to pay for gas so Trump can finish the job, instead of letting people like Pramila Jayapal gaslight the country.
That's a great analogy. You're right. They're gaslighting while maybe gas is a little higher just for short term. I love the analogy, Dom. How long did it take you to come up with that one?
While I was doing that, while I was waiting for you for a couple of minutes, I didn't know you were going to take my call so fast.
Dom, you are a quick thinker. You are on the ball, my friend. You are.
No, but I also want to tell you that Pramila Jayapal's gas is going to cost her a lot more than she realizes in the near future.
Yeah, it is. I mean, her rhetoric is so shocking. And, who are the people that vote for her? I mean, you're from Minnesota. Dom, you're from Minnesota. All right. So what's going on? You got Ilhan Omar. You got crazy Tim Walz there. I mean, what's in the water in Minnesota?
Well, it's not. It's probably mixed with, unfiltered gas.
I need some laughing gas when I listen to these people.
Yeah, there's people so crazy, so mad about this state now because they just increased the vehicle tab tax 7 times and everybody's complaining about it. I hope this is the right time for Republicans to run on some of the issues statewide, and they looks like some of them might come up with wins. So it's a good time for Republicans to kind of gear up in this state. I hope it happens.
I hope so, too. By the way, Dom, stick with me because I want to play this. Here is Tim Walz. Of course, the governor still, he's not running for re-election, but he's the gift that keeps on giving. Listen to what he said about ICE agents today, Dom.
This is not normal. These guys aren't doing a damn thing. They weren't qualified to be here in Minnesota. They're not qualified to be at the airport, and they are dang sure not qualified to be anywhere near a polling station.
That's amazing. I mean, they're not qualified to be in airports? They're not qualified to be near any location. They're not worthy. And this is from Tim Walz. What's your reaction? He's the governor of your state, Dom.
I guess he's not plugged into the news. He hasn't heard about the ICE agent who saved that kid's life in the airport.
That's right. And that was a beautiful, beautiful scene, by the way. That 1-year-old boy who was in line with his father and then was having trouble breathing and was choking. And I'm so glad you brought that up, Dom, because an ICE agent, you see it even on the video, comes running over, gives the Heimlich maneuver, and the little boy is safe. And he and his father go back in that long line, and then they make it on the plane. That's what ICE agents do, not this disgusting vilification by many Democrats.